Welcome back to exercise 2 of the GIS manual, and this will be tutorial 3 or part 3 of the exercise. So last time we turned on the buffer layer and we can see that it's here now, and it represents a straight line river flood, and we can see that it covers a couple of the houses. So really what we're trying to say here is the houses that are within the buffer would be flooded if this was a real flood. What I want you to do is take into consideration the terrain. Obviously this is a straight line, but do you believe that if we turned the base map and selected on base map and changed it to topographic, do you think contours like this would have any impact on rivers? It would, certainly. Places that are higher up are not going to flood as easily. So if it's up a slope, and say like this side was up a slope and this side was down a slope, these houses are far more likely to get flooded than these ones. So straight line is very useful, but it's not always right, which is important to think whenever we're thinking about river protection. So what I want you to do is tick on the flooded homes layer, and we can see the little stars appear on this side too, but the little stars appear and try to show us some of the houses that are flooded. Now, not all of the houses are selected that are within the buffer layer. This is just a misconfiguration, but these are the major houses that would be flooded. Basically, what we want to think about is, because the contours are taken into consideration, obviously we're saying that a lot of these houses wouldn't be as flooded as likely if they're up higher than this side is. So we can look at this in another way. If we change the base map just back to imagery for now, and we turned off the 100-metre river buffer, and instead what I want you to go and find down towards the bottom is there's the historic flood extent and historic flood photos. Click them both on. So we can see now, there's a little brown thing has appeared, and this is a historical flood extent, so previous floods that have happened many years ago are represented here. So maybe a couple of 100 years ago there was a massive flood in Armagh, and this is what they measured where the actual river flooded. So we can see that it's not as clear as it could be. We can also move these layers above the houses, but for now these will do because we've highlighted the flooded homes. If you just turn off the pointer file or the households file that we labelled earlier, we can see, well, actually there's a lot more houses that are being covered by this little brown layer, like up here, that would have been flooded back in historical times. And then there's a lot of homes that have been highlighted as they would flood under a 100-metre buffer when they wouldn't have been flooded 100 years ago. So it's very interesting to look at things like how the contours would affect the possible houses that would be flooded. So what I want you to do is really just look around the historical flood extent, and I want you to go and look for a camera. So that's what, if we look in the legend and we scroll down to the bottom, historical flood photos is represented by a little camera. So we're just going to search for a little camera. There's one right there. We lost it, sorry. There's one right here. So if we click on this, you can see a lot of information appears, river name, Callan River, and it tells us it's an aerial photograph and things like that. And when it was taken, so 1987 as well. If we scroll down to the bottom, it says image hrefl, and click on the more info with your mouse, and it opens up a web page that shows us a flood where the river is. So we can see that this was way back in the 80s and there was a flood here. There's lots of these around the map, so you can go and search for them if you want to. If you just click on the zoom to layer, it will take you to see a lot of the cameras. You can just look at all the images and see what sort of floods happened, but that's the closest one to Armagh from the historical floods. It's just really interesting. It's easier to understand a flood when you can see it happen or have seen a picture of it happening. So we can just really click on some of the photos if you want to do so. At this point, you can see the changes that you've made on the map. So if it's the end of your class, I want you to click on save and then click on save as. This will take a couple of minutes to load because there's so much data on the map. But if you remember back to the tutorial 3 of exercise 1, we clicked on save as, we gave the map a title and tags and things like that to just enable us to save it. It's just really so that you have a copy of the map that I've created, and you're able to share it to your teacher. And so that means that you can access this map again for the next parts of the tutorials. So you can see like all the information I've put in has already turned up. So what you would do is change this save in folder to your name. Obviously that would be based on your account, whatever would be in this folder. And in the title, instead of having River Floods in Armagh copy, I want you to replace copy with whatever your name might be. And then you would click on save map. I can't save it again because I've already got this. This is my map. But I'm just going to click X. And then what you would do is go back to your profile like we did before. And basically all you would do from this point would be then to share your map. It's going to take a little bit to load for mine because it is my own map and I'm trying to leave it. But if you remember back to the tutorial 3 of exercise 1, we go into my profile, then click my content, then tick on the map and click on ignore any changes. Just I'm going to do that because it's my map. But it'll take me back to my profile, and as I was saying, we click on the map that we've saved and then click on share, and then we click on the little box that appears and say click everyone public, and it just means then that your teacher can find it if she's searching through ArcGIS Online, just to see, so that she can see and she can check that what you've done and what point you are at in the exercises of this manual. Okay, so that's loaded for me, and then click on my content as I told you. Okay, let's open up my content. So as I said, yours will show river floods in Armagh, then dash and then your name, and it will not already be shared, but we're just going to pretend and illustrate what it would be. So we click on this and then we would click on share, and then we would tick on everyone public